Jake Martinez stood at his office window watching the morning sun rise over New Haven City. The golden light touched the glass towers and green parks below. Children walked to school while their parents headed to work. Ships landed and took off from the busy spaceport in the distance. Everything looked perfect and peaceful. Jake smiled as he drank his coffee. He had been the colony administrator for 8 years now. New Haven was his life's work. The planet had grown from a small outpost to a thriving world with over 2 million people. Families came here from Earth and other human worlds to build new lives. They had farms, factories, schools, and hospitals. They even had their own university where his daughter Lisa studied medicine. The communication device on his desk buzzed. "Dad, are you watching the morning news?" Lisa's voice came through clearly. She sounded worried. "No, sweetheart." "What's wrong?" Jake turned on the wall screen in his office. The news reporter looked serious. "Unknown ships have been detected at the edge of our solar system. The defense forces are investigating. We will update you as more information becomes available." Jake felt his stomach drop. New Haven was far from Earth, on the outer edge of human space. They had a small defense force with only 12 patrol ships and some ground weapons. If someone wanted to attack them, they could not fight back very well. Captain Ryan Brooks commanded the defense forces from the military base outside the city. Jake called him immediately. "Ryan, what do you know about these ships?" "Not much yet." "Jake, our sensors show at least 50 vessels. They're big, bigger than anything we have. They're not responding to our communication attempts." Ryan's voice was tight with worry. "Could they be traders or explorers?" "I don't think so. They're moving in military formation." "Jake, I think we need to start evacuation procedures." Jake's hands shook as he ended the call. He had hoped this day would never come. Every colony administrator knew the risks of living so far from Earth. But New Haven had been peaceful for so long. They grew crops, built homes, raised families. They were not soldiers or warriors. The warning sirens began to wail across the city. People stopped walking and looked up at the sky. Parents grabbed their children's hands. Shop owners came out of their stores. Everyone knew what the sirens meant. Jake activated the emergency broadcast system. His voice went out to every home, school, and workplace on New Haven. "Citizens of New Haven, this is Administrator Martinez. Unknown ships have entered our system and may pose a threat. Please remain calm and follow evacuation procedures. Go to your assigned shelters or evacuation points. Our defense forces are doing everything they can to protect us." But even as Jake spoke, he knew they had little hope. 12 patrol ships against 50 unknown vessels. It was like sending children to fight trained soldiers. The first explosions came an hour later. Jake watched from his window as bright flashes lit up the sky. The alien ships had attacked Captain Brooks and his small fleet. The human ships fought bravely, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. One by one, the patrol ships disappeared from the radar screens. Captain Brooks's last message came through broken and filled with static. "All ships destroyed. They're heading for the planet. Get everyone out now." The alien vessels were unlike anything humans had ever seen. They looked like they were grown rather than built. Their hulls curved and twisted like living things. Dark metal and glowing veins covered their surfaces. They moved through space like hunting animals. Jake ran through the city streets toward the university. He had to find Lisa. Around him, people were screaming and running. Some headed for the evacuation ships at the spaceport. Others went to underground shelters. The first energy beams hit the city before Jake reached the university. Buildings exploded in bright flashes of light. The ground shook under his feet. The aliens were not trying to capture New Haven. They were trying to destroy it completely at the university. Jake found Lisa helping injured people in the medical center. She had turned the building into an emergency hospital. Students and teachers worked together to treat burns and broken bones. "Lisa, we have to go. The evacuation ships are leaving soon. I can't leave these people, Dad. They need help." Lisa's medical coat was covered in blood, but her eyes were determined. "The aliens are destroying everything. If we stay, we'll die." Then we die helping others. That's what humans do. Jake felt proud and terrified at the same time. His daughter had become a better person than he ever was, but he could not let her die here. The ceiling shook as another energy beam hit nearby. Dust fell from above. The lights flickered. "At least help me get these people to the shelters," Lisa said. "Then I'll come with you." They worked together to move the wounded. Jake carried an old man while Lisa helped a woman with a broken leg. Other volunteers joined them. Even as their world burned around them, humans helped each other. But it was too late. The alien ships surrounded the spaceport and began destroying the evacuation vessels. Families who had made it to the ships died in balls of fire. The underground shelters were found and attacked. The aliens had better sensors than humans realized. Captain Brooks appeared at the medical center with his remaining soldiers. His uniform was torn and bloody. "The spaceport is gone. Most of the shelters are destroyed. We're making a final stand at the government building. Maybe we can buy time for a few people to escape." Jake knew it was hopeless, but he had to try. He activated his emergency transmitter, sending a message toward Earth and the other human colonies. "This is New Haven. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. They have destroyed our defenses and are killing civilians. They showed no mercy to those who tried to surrender. Remember us. Tell our story. Make them pay for what they did here today." The transmission cut off as an energy beam hit the communication tower. Jake held Lisa close as the walls of the medical center began to crack and fall. Outside, the alien ships continued their work. They hunted down every human they could find. Men, women, children. It made no difference to them. They killed everyone. New Haven burned for 3 days. When the alien fleet finally left, nothing remained but ash and twisted metal. The proud colony that had taken decades to build was gone in less than a week. Only one small scout ship escaped, the Destruction. It carried the colony's final messages toward Earth. The pilot, Lieutenant Amy Foster, would have to tell humanity what happened to their brothers and sisters on New Haven. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought they were destroying a weak colony far from help. They did not know they had just given humanity a reason for war. Lieutenant Amy Foster had been flying for 3 weeks straight. Her small scout ship was damaged and barely working. The engines made strange noises and the life support systems kept failing. But she had to reach Earth. She carried the final messages from New Haven, and the whole human race needed to hear them. When Earth appeared on her screens, Amy felt tears in her eyes. The blue and white planet looked so peaceful and safe, nothing like the burning hell that New Haven had become. She sent her emergency codes and waited for permission to land. "Scout Ship Phoenix, this is Earth Control. You are cleared for emergency. Landing at Luna Base, medical teams are standing by." Amy landed her broken ship at the moon base. Her legs shook as she walked down the ramp. She had not left her pilot seat for days. Medical teams rushed toward her, but she pushed them away. "I need to speak to the Defense Council immediately. I have recordings from New Haven." "Lieutenant, you need medical attention first." "No. People need to see what happened. Right now." Within 2 hours, Amy stood in the great chamber of the Terran Defense Council on Earth. Representatives from all 47 human worlds sat in curved rows around her. At the front sat President Carl Johnson, a gray-haired man who had led humanity for 10 years. "Lieutenant Foster, we received your emergency transmission 3 days ago. Tell us what happened at New Haven." Amy's voice was steady, but her hands shook as she activated the holographic display. The chamber filled with images from New Haven's final days. The peaceful colony, the alien ships appearing in the sky, the systematic destruction that followed. The council members watched in silence as the recordings showed civilians running for their lives, children crying as their parents died, schools and hospitals deliberately targeted and destroyed. The aliens had not wanted to conquer New Haven. They wanted to wipe out every human there. They called themselves the Kethvar Hegemony, Amy said. "They spoke to us once before they began the attack. They said humans were a disease spreading through the galaxy. They said we needed to be stopped before we infected more worlds." President Johnson's face was white with rage. Around the chamber, representatives whispered to each other in shock and anger. Some of them had friends and family on New Haven. How many survived? Asked Senator Linda Davis from Mars Colony. Maybe a few hundred out of 2.5 million. Most of those will die from radiation poisoning. The aliens used weapons that poison the ground and air. New Haven will be dead for centuries. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Representatives shouted for immediate military action. Others demanded answers about why the colony had so little protection. President Johnson called for quiet. We will have order. Lieutenant Foster, thank you for bringing us this information. Rest now. We will take care of everything else. But Amy did not leave. She stood at attention in front of the council. Sir, Administrator Martinez asked me to deliver one more message. He said to tell you that humanity is stronger than the aliens. Think. He said you would know what that means. President Johnson nodded slowly. I understand. You are dismissed, Lieutenant. After Amy left, the council chamber sealed itself. What happened next was classified at the highest levels. Only the most senior leaders of humanity knew the full truth. Admiral Peter Kane stepped forward. He was the commander of all human military forces. His uniform carried more medals than anyone else in the room. It's time, he said simply. President Johnson activated a secure communication system. Across human space, similar meetings began in hidden locations. Military commanders who had been waiting for this day started making phone calls. Shipyard workers received new orders. Pilots reported to bases they had never heard of. The truth was that humanity had been preparing for this war for 50 years. They had built secret shipyards inside asteroids and empty moons. They had trained millions of soldiers in hidden bases. They had developed weapons and ships that no other species knew existed. Every human world had underground factories making warships. Every human colony had military forces disguised as civilian workers. The peaceful traders and explorers that other species saw were only part of the truth. Admiral Susan Clark commanded the first fleet from a base inside the asteroid belt. Her ships were hidden in caves carved from solid rock. When the activation order came, blast doors opened and 5,000 warships emerged into space. On Mars, Admiral Tony Reed's Second Fleet prepared for launch. 10,000 ships that had been disguised as mining equipment and cargo haulers revealed their true purpose. Weapons unfolded from hidden compartments. Armor plating slid into place. Commander Katie Wells led the Deep Strike Force from a secret base beyond Pluto. Her ships were built for stealth and speed. They could strike fast and disappear before the enemy knew what hit them. All across human space, the same scene repeated. Ships emerged from hiding places. Soldiers put on their uniforms. Weapon systems came online. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. In the Defense Council chamber, holographic displays showed the mobilization progress. Numbers climbed steadily as more fleets reported ready for battle. Current count is 400,000 ships, and rising, reported Admiral Kane. Full mobilization will give us 700,000 vessels within 2 weeks. The representatives stared at the numbers in shock. Even they had not known the full extent of humanity's hidden military power. How long have we been building this fleet? Asked Senator Davis. Since we first met other intelligent species, President Johnson replied. We hoped we would never need it. We tried to be peaceful and friendly, but we always knew that someday someone would mistake our kindness for weakness. The vote was unanimous. Operation Retribution was approved by all 47 human worlds. The Kethvar hegemony had destroyed New Haven, thinking they were crushing a weak colony. They were about to learn they had just awakened the most powerful military force in the galaxy. News of the mobilization spread to every human world within hours. Families said goodbye to their sons and daughters joining the fleet. Factories worked around the clock making weapons and supplies. Children drew pictures of warships to send to the soldiers. The other species in the galaxy watched in confusion as human trade ships stopped arriving at their ports. Human diplomats recalled themselves from alien worlds. The peaceful humans they thought they knew were disappearing. In 3 weeks, the largest fleet in galactic history would begin its journey to Kethvar space. New Haven would be avenged, and the galaxy would learn what happens when you make humanity angry. The age of human patience was over. The age of human war had begun. The human war fleet moved through space like a dark storm cloud. 700,000 ships stretched across millions of miles of empty space. From far away, it looked like a moving galaxy made of metal and weapons. Captain Dan White stood on the bridge of his battleship, the USS Retribution. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew what they were here to do. The aliens had killed innocent people at New Haven. Now it was time to make them pay. "Captain, we're approaching the HFY border system," reported Lieutenant Ben Turner at the navigation station. "Enemy ships detected, looks like about 200 vessels." Dan smiled grimly. 200 alien ships against his battle group of 15,000. The aliens were about to learn what real war felt like. "All ships, this is Captain White. Remember what they did to our families at New Haven. Show them the same mercy they showed our children. Begin the attack." The human ships opened fire all at once. Thousands of energy beams and missiles filled the space around the alien fleet. The HFY ships were individually more powerful than human vessels, but numbers meant everything in space combat. For every human ship the aliens destroyed, 10 more took its place. The HFY fleet fought bravely, but they were drowning in human firepower. Within 2 hours, every alien ship was destroyed or surrendering, but the humans were not accepting surrenders. On the planet below, the HFY population watched in terror as human landing ships filled their sky. They had expected some retaliation for New Haven, but nothing like this. The humans had brought enough ships to conquer their entire empire. Marine Colonel Beth Turner led the ground assault on the main HFY city. Her soldiers moved through the streets in perfect formation. Unlike the aliens at New Haven, the humans followed rules of war. They targeted military positions and government buildings, not schools and hospitals. But what Colonel Turner found in the alien city changed everything. "Command, this is Turner. You need to see this." In the center of the city, the humans discovered massive prison camps. Thousands of aliens from dozens of different species were held in terrible conditions. Men, women, and children from worlds the HFY had conquered over the centuries. The prisoners were thin and sick. Many had injuries that had never been treated properly. Some species the humans had never seen before. All of them had the same look in their eyes, the look of people who had given up hope. "How long have you been here?" Colonel Turner asked an elderly alien through her translator. 23 years, the alien replied in a weak voice. "My world fell when I was young. The HFY killed most of my people. They kept some of us alive to work in their factories." Turner felt anger burning in her chest. The HFY were not just attackers who had destroyed one human colony. They were monsters who had been enslaving and killing for generations. She sent her report back to the fleet command. Within hours, every human ship in the system received the same message from Admiral Kane. "Soldiers of humanity, we came here to avenge New Haven. We have discovered that the HFY hegemony has been committing genocide against innocent species for over 200 years. Our mission has changed. We are no longer just seeking revenge. We are liberating the galaxy." The news spread through the human fleet like wildfire. Soldiers who had been angry before became absolutely furious. The aliens had not just attacked humanity. They had been murdering and enslaving peaceful species across the galaxy. Commander Katie Wells received the liberation orders while her deep strike force was heading deep into HFY space. Her 50 stealth ships had been assigned to disrupt alien supply lines and communications. Now she had a new mission. All ships, new targets, are the slave transport routes. Any HFY ship carrying prisoners is to be captured, not destroyed. "We're going to free every slave we can find." Katie's ships struck like ghosts in the night. They appeared from empty space, destroyed the HFY escort ships, and freed the prisoners. Her pilots became experts at precision attacks that disabled enemy vessels without harming the innocent beings trapped inside. One rescue mission changed Katie's life forever. Her ship intercepted a HFY transport carrying 500 prisoners from a recently conquered world. Among them was a young female alien who spoke perfect English. "How do you know our language?" Katie asked through the ship's communication system. My people traded with humans before the Kethvar came, the alien replied. We called you the gentle giants because you were so much larger than us but always kind and fair. We thought you were weak because you never fought anyone. Katie laughed bitterly. We're not weak. We just prefer not to fight. But when someone forces us to fight, we don't stop until our enemies are completely defeated. Back at the border system, Captain Dan White was receiving reports from across the expanding human offensive. Every Kethvar system faced the same overwhelming assault. Tens of thousands of human ships appeared, destroyed the local defenses, and began freeing prisoners. The Kethvar leadership tried to organize a defense, but it was hopeless. They had built their empire by picking on weaker species one at a time. They had never faced an enemy with superior numbers and better organization. War Commander Zethkul, the leader of the Kethvar military, sent desperate messages to the human fleet. He offered to negotiate, to pay reparations, to make peace. The human response was always the same. You had your chance for mercy at New Haven. You chose to kill our children instead. Now face the consequences of your choice. The human advance continued system by system. Each Kethvar world that surrendered immediately was occupied but not destroyed. Each world that fought was bombarded from orbit until nothing military remained. The other species in the galaxy watched in amazement and terror. The humans they had known as peaceful traders and diplomats had revealed themselves as the most powerful military force anyone had ever seen. The Galactic Council held emergency sessions, trying to decide how to respond to humanity's war. Some species wanted to intervene and stop the fighting. Others argued that the Kethvar deserved whatever punishment the humans gave them. Ambassador Helen Parker represented humanity at these meetings. Her message was simple and clear. We are not conquerors. We do not want your worlds or your resources. We want justice for the innocent beings the Kethvar have murdered and enslaved. When that justice is complete, we will return to being the peaceful neighbors you have always known. But privately, Helen knew that the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had shown their true strength. Never again would any species see humans as weak or helpless. The hunt for the Kethvar continued across their empire. 700,000. Human ships spread out like a net, capturing every alien world and freeing every prisoner they found. War Commander Zethkul retreated toward the Kethvar homeworld, gathering what remained of his forces for a final stand. He still did not understand what he was truly facing. The humans were not just seeking revenge anymore. They had become the galaxy's liberators, and they would not stop until every slave camp was empty and every Kethvar weapon was destroyed. The galaxy was about to witness the most complete military victory in its history. The Kethvar homeworld of Zethkara had never seen so many ships in its sky. 300,000 human warships surrounded the planet like a metal moon. For the first time in their history, the Kethvar people felt real fear. War Commander Zethkul stood in his command center deep beneath the capital city. Around him, his remaining generals looked at screens showing the massive human fleet. They had gathered every surviving Kethvar ship to defend their homeworld. 2,000. Vessels against 300,000. The numbers made no sense. How did we not know they had so many ships? Asked General Kethmore, his voice shaking with disbelief. We thought humans were weak, Zethkul replied bitterly. We saw their peaceful colonies and friendly traders. We never imagined they were hiding the largest military force in the galaxy. Above the planet, Admiral Susan Clark commanded the human fleet from her flagship. She had fought her way across 12 Kethvar systems to reach this moment. Every battle had been the same story. Overwhelming human numbers crushing the alien defenses. Admiral, the planetary defense grid is activating, reported her tactical officer. They have orbital weapons platforms and surface-based missile systems. Understood. Begin bombardment of military targets only. I want their weapons destroyed, but leave the civilian areas alone. We're not like them. The space battle lasted 6 hours. The Kethvar fought with desperate courage, knowing they were defending their home and families. Their ships were individually superior to human vessels, with better armor and more powerful weapons. But superior technology meant nothing when facing such overwhelming numbers. For every human ship destroyed, 20 more continued the attack. The Kethvar defense fleet was slowly ground down by sheer firepower. One by one, their proud warships exploded or surrendered. War Commander Zeth Kul watched his fleet die from his underground bunker. His people had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved millions of beings. They had thought themselves the strongest species in the galaxy. Now they were being crushed like insects. "Sir, the humans are requesting your surrender," reported his communications officer. "What are their terms?" "Unconditional surrender of all military forces. All government leaders to be taken prisoner for trial. Complete disarmament of all Kethvar worlds." Zeth Kul closed his eyes. These were the same terms his people had offered to conquered species. The same terms they had given to the humans at New Haven, before choosing to kill everyone instead. "Tell them we refuse. The Kethvar do not surrender." The human response came within minutes. General Mike Davis, commander of the ground forces, sent a simple message to the planet below. "You have 1 hour to evacuate all civilians from military areas. After that, we begin orbital bombardment of all weapons facilities and government buildings." True to their word, the humans waited exactly 1 hour. Then the sky above Zeth Kara lit up with energy beams and missile strikes. Every military base, every weapons factory, every government building was systematically destroyed from orbit. But the humans were careful. They used precision strikes that avoided civilian neighborhoods. Hospitals and schools were left untouched. Even as they destroyed the Kethvar military, they tried to protect innocent lives. This confused the alien population. When the Kethvar conquered other worlds, they killed anyone who resisted. They destroyed cities and enslaved survivors. But the humans seemed to follow different rules of war. After the bombardment, human dropships filled the sky. Thousands of landing craft brought soldiers down to the planet's surface. General Davis led the assault on the capital city himself. The fighting in the streets was fierce but brief. Kethvar soldiers fought from behind barricades and inside buildings. They used their knowledge of the city to set traps and ambushes. But they were facing professional human soldiers who had trained for this kind of combat. Captain Ryan Hayes commanded one of the assault companies moving toward the government center. His brother had died at New Haven, killed while trying to evacuate civilians. Ryan had volunteered for this mission to honor his brother's memory. "Remember, we're not here for revenge," Ryan told his soldiers as they advanced through the alien city. "We're here to end this war and make sure it never happens again. Follow the rules of engagement, protect civilians, only shoot at armed enemies." But following rules was hard when Ryan saw what the Kethvar had done to their prisoners. In buildings, throughout the city, his soldiers found torture chambers and execution rooms. The aliens had been studying captured humans and other species, trying to learn their weaknesses. The final battle took place at the Imperial Palace, a massive structure in the center of the capital. War Commander Zeth Kul had gathered his elite guard there for a last stand. These were the best Kethvar warriors, veterans of dozens of conquests. Captain Hayes led the assault on the palace personally. His soldiers fought their way through ornate halls decorated with trophies from conquered worlds. Weapons and artifacts from dozens of species hung on the walls like hunting prizes. The throne room doors were sealed and heavily defended. It took 3 hours of fighting to break through. When the humans finally entered, they found War Commander Zeth Kul sitting on his throne, surrounded by his dead guards. "I am War Commander Zeth Kul of the Kethvar hegemony," the alien leader said in perfect English. "I demand to be treated as a prisoner of war according to galactic conventions." Captain Hayes walked up to the throne, his weapon pointed at the alien commander. "You want to talk about conventions? What conventions did you follow at New Haven when you murdered our children?" "That was war. Civilians die in war." "No," Hayes replied. "That was genocide. And you're going to stand trial for it." Zeth Kul was taken prisoner along with his surviving officers. Within days, human forces controlled every major city on the Kethvar homeworld. The conquest was complete, but humanity's work was just beginning. Engineer Sam Torres led teams that systematically dismantled the HFY war machine. Every shipyard was destroyed. Every weapons factory was torn apart. Every military research facility was shut down. "We're not just defeating them," Torres explained to his workers. "We're making sure they can never threaten anyone again. Every piece of military technology, every weapon design, every ship blueprint, it all gets destroyed." The message was clear to everyone watching. The HFY hegemony was finished. Their key military was destroyed, their leaders captured, their empire occupied. They would never again be able to conquer other species or build slave camps. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The species that had lived in fear of HFY expansion celebrated their liberation. The other major powers watched in amazement and concern. Humanity had revealed itself as the dominant military force in known space. Ambassador Helen Parker addressed the Galactic Council one final time during the war. The HFY hegemony chose to be conquerors and murderers. They built their empire on the bones of innocent beings. Today, that empire ends. We are not conquerors like them. We seek only justice for their victims and security for peaceful species everywhere. But everyone knew the galaxy had changed forever. The humans were no longer the friendly traders and peaceful explorers they had seemed to be. They were the most powerful military force anyone had ever seen. War Commander Zeth Kool sat in his prison cell, awaiting trial for war crimes. He finally understood the terrible mistake his people had made. They had attacked New Haven thinking they were crushing a weak human colony. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant that would reshape the entire galaxy. The age of HFY domination was over. The age of human protection had begun. 1 year after the fall of New Haven, Lieutenant Amy Foster stood on the bridge of her new ship. The USS New Haven was one of the most advanced vessels in the human fleet. It was also part of something that had never existed before in galactic history, a permanent peacekeeping force. Amy looked out at the rebuilt New Haven system. Where once there had been a dead, poisoned world, now there was a thriving memorial planet. Millions of beings from dozens of species had come to help rebuild. The new city was bigger and more beautiful than the original colony. "Captain, we have a diplomatic ship requesting permission to approach," reported her communications officer. Amy smiled. She had been promoted to captain of the memorial fleet after her service during the war. The ship requesting approach was from the Zilani, one of the species the humans had freed from HFY slavery. "Permission granted. Have them dock at Bay 3. The Zilani ambassador was a small blue-skinned being named Koltar. He had been a slave for 30 years before human forces liberated his world. Now he represented his people in the new Galactic Liberation Alliance. "Captain Foster, my people have prepared another memorial stone for New Haven," Koltar said as he walked onto the bridge. "We want to honor the humans who died here. Their sacrifice led to our freedom." Amy felt tears in her eyes. Every month, former slave species brought new memorials to New Haven. They came from across the galaxy to remember the colony that had sparked humanity's great war of liberation. On Earth, President Carl Johnson stood before the New Haven Memorial. The massive structure contained the names of every person who had died in the alien attack. Families came from all over human space to visit and remember their loved ones. "They died as civilians," the president said to the gathered crowd. But their deaths awakened something in humanity that the galaxy had never seen before. They showed us that sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to be willing to fight for it. The memorial service was broadcast to every human world and many alien ones. The galaxy now understood that humanity was not just another species, seeking territory or resources. They were protectors who would fight anyone who threatened innocent lives. Admiral Peter Kane walked through the command center of the Memorial Fleet headquarters. 50,000 ships were permanently stationed in former HFY space. They served as both peacekeepers and a warning to any species considering aggression. "Status report," Kane asked his aide, Commander Lisa Park. "All quiet, Admiral. The Thexani and Mordai are having another border dispute, but they've requested human mediation instead of going to war. The former HFY worlds are still adjusting to freedom, but no major problems. Kane nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy had learned that humans were better diplomats when everyone knew they had the most powerful military backing them up. Disputes that might have led to wars were now settled through negotiation. On the former Kethvar capital world, now renamed Liberation, millions of freed slaves were building new lives. Colonel Beth Turner had been appointed as the military governor, overseeing the transition from a slave empire to a free society. "How are the trials going?" she asked Judge Advocate Carol Stone, who was prosecuting Kethvar war criminals. War Commander Zethkul was sentenced to life in prison yesterday. Most of his officers are getting similar sentences. The ones who cooperated with us and helped free slaves are getting lighter punishments. Beth walked through the streets of the capital city, where once there had been slave markets and execution grounds. Now there were schools and hospitals. The former prisoners were learning to live as free beings again. But the biggest change was not on any single world. The entire balance of galactic power had shifted. The old Galactic Council had been dominated by a few large empires that often ignored smaller species. Now, humanity led the Liberation Alliance, giving equal voice to every member species regardless of size or military power. Commander Katie Wells commanded one of the deep patrol fleets that roamed the galaxy, looking for pirates and slavers. Her ships had become legends among peaceful species. When traders saw human vessels approaching, they felt safe instead of threatened. "Captain, we're receiving a distress call from a Federation cargo convoy," reported her tactical officer. "Pirates are attacking them in the neutral zone. Set course immediately. All ships, battle stations." The pirates were from the Scar Dominion, a species that had been raiding trade routes for decades. They thought they could continue their old ways now that the Kethvar were gone. They were wrong. Katie's fleet arrived to find 6 pirate ships attacking 3 defenseless cargo vessels. The attack ended quickly. The pirates had never faced professional military forces before. "This is Commander Wells of the Human Liberation Fleet," she broadcast on all frequencies. "Any pirate caught attacking peaceful ships will be hunted down and destroyed. Spread the word. The galaxy is under our protection now." The surviving pirates fled back to their home territories. Within days, the story spread throughout the criminal underworld. The humans were not just protecting their own ships. They were protecting everyone. Back on Earth, Ambassador Helen Parker met with representatives from the major galactic powers. The meeting was tense. Many of the older empires resented humanity's new dominant position. "You have upset the balance of power," complained Ambassador Vexen from the Stellar Confederation. "Your military buildup threatens galactic stability." "Our military exists to protect peaceful species from aggressors," Helen replied calmly. "If that threatens you, perhaps you should examine your own policies towards smaller neighbors." The other ambassadors shifted uncomfortably. They all knew that humanity now had the power to enforce their will throughout the galaxy. But instead of conquering other worlds, the humans seemed genuinely interested in protecting the weak and maintaining peace. On New Haven itself, the Memorial City had become a pilgrimage site. Beings from hundreds of species came to pay their respects to the humans who had died there. In the center of the city stood a simple monument with the names of all who had perished. At the base of the monument, fresh flowers appeared every day. Children from dozens of worlds brought drawings and poems. Former slaves brought artifacts from their freed homelands. The memorial had become a symbol of hope for oppressed beings everywhere. Captain Amy Foster visited the monument every day during her shore leave. She read the names of people she had known personally. Jake Martinez, who had tried to save his colony. Lisa Martinez, who had died helping others. Captain Ryan Brooks, who had made the final stand at the spaceport. "We kept our promise," she whispered to their memory. "The galaxy is safer now because of what you sacrificed." Above New Haven, the Memorial Fleet maintained its endless patrol. 50,000 ships carrying the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built. They were a reminder to everyone who saw them that the age of genocidal empires was over. The galaxy had learned a simple lesson from humanity's response to New Haven's destruction. Peaceful species should be protected, not conquered. Innocent beings should be helped, not enslaved. and anyone who chose to be a predator would face the overwhelming might of human justice. The Kethvar had thought they were destroying a weak colony when they attacked New Haven. Instead, they had awakened the galaxy's new guardians. They had learned too late that humanity's greatest strength was not their hidden fleet or advanced weapons. It was their refusal to let innocent people suffer while they had the power to help. The message was now carved in stone on monuments across the galaxy in hundreds of languages for all to remember. Humanity remembers. Humanity avenges. Humanity endures.